is when a celebrity is the celebrity and they won't deviate from that, and they're very protective of their brand, they're not going to play along, and they're the hero. They become the hero, and that's what you recall. The brand is forgotten, like no one recalls it.
Okay, just keep your head down.
Yes, Paige.
Feet shoulder width. That's your best bet.
You say bet?
Mm-hmm. Now just grip it and rip it.
Magnificent. A 350-yard bomb. And I went even longer on the Tigers tonight. Where did it land?
It hasn't. 4!
You should see when I use two hands.
It's shacking easy to bet anytime, anywhere with the PointsBet app.
When Bet365 was created,
perfect condition.
we had a simple vision. We wanted to connect people to every game that matters. We wanted to build the ultimate sports app. So we did. Download the app and see for yourself why Bet365 is the world's favorite online betting company.
Gamble responsibly.
So there we have it. PointsBet. I'll start there. So this is Shaquille O'Neal, obviously, in the creative. He is the hero. They've moved away. They used to have Allen Iverson, so NBA player, and then we've gone Shaq, both an NBA player, both US NBA players. So I think Shaq's a much better choice than Allen because he's instantly recognizable, whereas Allen, you really need to know the game to really understand where he fits in the mix. And then we've got Bet365. So for those of you who couldn't pick it, it was Anthony LaPaglia. So he's an Australian. He's been featured in several TV series. He actually was a goalkeeper for Sydney FC back in the 80s. So he's got quite a heritage with soccer. He actually was part owner of Sydney Football Club several years ago in the mid 2000s. But it was really subtle. And if I was to break them down, I don't think either of them are cracking commercials and have hit it out the park using celebrity by any stretch of the imagination. But Bet365, what I liked about it is it did get attention. You had your mini soccer players, you had mini commentators, mini AFL players, basketball players running around in the real world. You know, it's different. I hadn't seen it before. It kind of kept and held my attention. What I didn't like about it, that could have been any brand. There was nothing unique about Bet365. The promise they had in it was it's the ultimate sports app. It had no proof. What makes it the ultimate sports app? Why would I want to use it? You know, it was really the idea about having mini players running around the real world and trying to integrate that to be Bet365. Anthony was really subtle. It was his voice. You know, they probably paid a reasonable sum for him, but it could have been anyone. And unless you really were a soccer nerd, you wouldn't have picked up that there was any connection to him to the soccer world at all. So I think that's definitely comes in second place. PointsBet. I'll go to you, Justin. What did you think?
No, go on.
PointsBet. I like what they're trying to do to create a term or vernacular, being it's Shaq and Easy, which you just go, okay, it's Shaq and Easy. It's Shaq and Easy, and trying to connect that to PointsBet. So there is some, you know, encoding of memory that's going on. That's what I believe they're trying to do. But like, again, it's an interesting ad. You know, he hits it out of the park, but you don't recall PointsBet. Again, it could have been any brand. There's no strong connection. The betting world, I firmly believe, is really driven by offers and promotions. And you see this, they've kind of got their brand ad, which this is. And then when they dovetail it with specific offers, like bonus bets, or, you know, if your team's up by halftime, we'll pay out your bet. That's what punters transfer from one app to the other, because it's about increasing their odds of winning money. Both of these ads, brand ads, you know, again, I don't think they're particularly strong, but if I was to pick a winner, I'd be PointsBet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go. Be the contrarian.
I'll be the contrarian. It's funny that you picked that there's an ad here with Shaq, because, you know, I'm tasked with doing a future episode, and one of the other ads I'm looking at has Shaq in it as well, which made me actually kind of look at an article about Shaq and why he's appearing in commercials lately. And he's actually considered one of the most successful business people coming out of sports, next to George Foreman. And he had his investing philosophy is fun. Like, he only wants to invest in companies that make the world a funner place to be in. And I'm not going to spoil the one that I was looking at, but in this case, for PointsBet, look, in both of these things, PointsBet and Bet365, the name is telling me what the app is. And I imagine that if I'm a sports person or betting per gambling person, that I know what they are. But I felt like the PointsBet ad only talked about the product for like, I think like 8 seconds. So like it was all about like Shaq swinging a golf club with the celebrity Australian golf person. And, the stereotype Shaq, when he hits a golf ball, it just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. I got wrapped up in all of that. And so that moment of time, because that he uses in order to talk about the product, I kind of lost that, again, the name of the brand is in the says what the product does. So it's a little bit helpful, but I thought the ad again was more about Shaq than it was about the product. And I would imagine I don't know if, like starch ratings and, I imagine that if you asked most people who saw that ad once, what was the product, they might not remember.
Wouldn't for either of them, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think they would remember Shaq.
100% they'd,
right.
Yeah, agree.
And I think that the other one has in a way the same problem. They don't mention the product till the end. I thought it was a little bit of a better ad, and the voiceover and the copy was getting closer to explaining something. Unfortunately, I didn't even feel like it explained anything. I think like they had the terms like it's the, we built Bet365. Okay, so it's a betting app, maybe. I don't know. We built in order to connect every sports person to every game that matters. It's not an association I make with a betting app. Like connect. What do you mean connecting me to like connecting me to every game? Like there's a little bit, you're getting a little too emotional here for what the product is. And then also like it's, so we built the ultimate sports app. You're not a sports app. You're a betting app. Like wrong category to me, right? Like you're a betting app for sports, but you're not explaining the product to me, right? I felt like none of these ads really were based on any kind of idea that came from an insight of the way people use betting apps. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean? Like it didn't. Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why I'd choose none of them, but if I had to choose one, I was going to go with the Bet365, only because I also got the weird sense too that this guy, the celebrity that they used, wasn't so well known. He also, even if he was well known, he's not coming across that way. He's coming across kind of laid back, and he's not as distracting. It's just his voice, and then he appears a couple times, and there is somewhat of a character development with him there. Like he could, but not. And the copy came the closest to at least they tried to describe what their app, what this product was, which I thought was, somewhat helpful. But I just want to say something about both of them in this case, particularly the Shaq one, right? Is whenever people talk to me about celebrities, and I think I mentioned this to you one before, there's this really old David Ogilvy clip where David Ogilvy actually appeared on Letterman and to peddle his new book on advertising, or yeah, right. That's what it's called, Ogilvy on Advertising. And Letterman's asking him a bunch of questions. And interestingly enough, in that interview, he talks about the eye patch for Hathaway shirts, right? And he talks about the Schweppes guy, right? And Letterman is almost smart enough to take that cue and be like, so you've created a lot of interesting characters, but what about using celebrities? And then Ogilvy says, I used to do it, I don't anymore. And his thing and his reasons are they cost too much money for the ROI. They're hard to work with. and they distract from the product. And interestingly enough, the example that he gives is he did a commercial for, and I guess the point of it is I can't remember the name of the brand, but also because the brand didn't make it, for a margarine.
Good
Um,
luck margarine, I think it was.
A Good Luck margarine, yeah, using Eleanor Roosevelt. I don't know if you want to show this clip. It might be worth showing.
Let's do it.
Clip.
All right,
Okay.
let's cut to the clip now. Let's show Good Luck Margarine.
Years ago, most people never dreamed of eating margarine, but times have changed. Nowadays, you can get a margarine like the new Good Luck, which really tastes delicious. That's what I've spread on my toast. Good Luck. I thoroughly enjoy it.
The margarine Mrs. Roosevelt has just recommended is new Good Luck, the light margarine. Good Luck is light in flavor, light on your tongue, and leaves no oily aftertaste.
Well, there you have. That's what we were talking about, Justin. Good Luck Margarine.
Yeah, right. And so, Ogilvy is quick to point out, first of all, it was politically divisive. But second of all, people remembered Eleanor Roosevelt. No one could remember the margarine. And so he made that a point that he doesn't use celebrities anymore. Now, I don't think he's, in this business, we like to use these absolute sentences all the time. Obviously, the Alexa ads that I mentioned before that use Michael P. Jordan and that used Gordon Ramsay, Anthony Hopkins, like as the voices, like those were good uses of celebrities, again, because the celebrity is being turned into a character, is turning into the product, and the big thing is the idea, and then the celebrity is just sort of playing the role in an idea, right? The way that like a really bad movie, a celebrity could distract from a really bad movie. It's almost like if you know that this is Brad Pitt, like you're watching Brad Pitt in this movie, and the whole time you're aware that this is Brad Pitt, it's probably a bad movie. But when you're watching Fight Club, and it's Tyler Durden, it's not Brad Pitt, then it's a good movie. So I think the same thing applies to a commercial.
Celebrity is the hero. All it does is increase their equity in their own brand. And this is what we kind of see time and time again. And this is one of the fatal errors that we come across, is when a celebrity is the celebrity and they won't deviate from that. And they're very protective of their brand. They're not going to play along, and they're the hero. They become the hero, and that's what you recall. The brand is forgotten, like no one recalls it. It's really interesting. One of our first episodes we actually had, it was during lockdown, and L'Oreal put out this ad with Eva Longoria, and it was her dyeing her own hair. Look at all my grays, and it was shot on, I think it was iPhone cameras, and it was really interesting. And that clip got circulated around because we could see it on our LinkedIn all through Europe through L'Oreal. And we were quite harsh on it because Eva Longoria was very firm on her. Like you could see, she wasn't really mentioning L'Oreal. She was talking about her grays in her story. And the branding on it was really poor. I think they mentioned L'Oreal once in it, and there was little to no branding throughout the whole thing except the end frame. And that was our narrative. And then after it started getting bounced around and all the rest of it, I got a little bit nervous going, what's going on here? Because the head of Europe, L'Oreal, looked at my LinkedIn profile at least a dozen times. Next thing we noticed, the ad came out in a different variation, and it was far better branded. It actually had L'Oreal on screen throughout the entire creative. Like it actually took up a few of these recommendations, and whether that's sheer coincidence or not, but it was really interesting because she was really the hero of that ad. And you just go, oh, Eva's got grays. That's interesting. And she dyes her hair at home during lockdown. Like that's what you remember from it. You don't remember, or L'Oreal's not anchored to it. And this is the key to getting it right with a celebrity, because when you get it right, it flies. When you get it wrong, which is the majority of the time, it tanks and it's very, very expensive. And this is why you see a lot of big brands, especially Super Bowl, that leverage celebrity.
Oh, that's the last Super Bowl is just awful. It was like an ad for Hollywood. It was just awful.
But you don't get attention in that environment anyway, because everyone's running the same strategy. Like it's
right.
How can we do it? So this is where the product has to be the hero. And if you are leveraging celebrity, where we also see it well, like Ryan Reynolds, if you don't know Ryan Reynolds, it still works.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. If you do know him, it's 10 times or 100 times more effective because he's got this instantly recognizable face that you trust and you want to be a bit like him somewhere deep down because he has that status. He's got star power. But you go like even George Clooney, Nespresso, it works because it's really integrated to his character. But Nespresso holding up the little, cup with Nespresso branded on it, that's what I remember.
Right.
It works because it fits his character, but Nespresso is the hero.
Right.
And you want to leverage, and this is where you go, the right celebrity, going back to Nike and their formula, is like, what traits do we want to leverage? So we can take their traits and associate them to our brand or product.
Exactly.
That's why you want to use a celebrity, and you want to get leverage. And if a celebrity is not prepared to leverage their brand and move it towards the brand and have the brand as the hero, it's not right.
Right. Which is why, Shaq is trying. I would guess that Shaq is probably an investor in PointsBet. He seems to be in. I don't know that he seems to get involved in the commercials too when he does it. Which is why it was that ad had the most potential, but I still feel like it didn't do a good job.
Yeah, the only reason, so I'll have a caveat here. If it's just on the ad, which it should be, so I've kind of cheated here a little bit. What I like about what they're doing with PointsBet is they have a platform now. So they have a platform that Shaq could appear in dozens of different ads in these scenarios, but they could also throw an offer on the back end of it. So it could be 20 seconds of Shaq, 10 seconds of an offer. If you're watching AFL, if your team's winning by halftime, we'll pay up the bet. And that is where you acquire new customers from the offer. Yeah. Whereas if you look at a Bet365, that's a one ad in soulless. That's all it's really ever going to be, because the production value on that would be reasonably expensive as well. This is where I go for a platform, for a brand and have longevity. PointsBet easily wins.
But maybe they should take your advice, like you said, for where's the beef, and say the slogan a few more times, and also the name of the brand at least 3 times. Just a little bit more, because I don't think that everyone that's into sports is into betting. I like sports, but I'm not into sports betting. And so they still have to sell. They need to sell. Their product, and right now they're just selling Shaq.